All right, hello, hello, hello. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, looks like you can anyway. It's always a question whether or not you can. All right, so some big market movers still. Obviously the yen. Again, with the intervention yesterday, we're still seeing some major movements in it, but it's kind of leveled out at this point. Looks like the slot is officially done at this point. Although you are seeing the pound getting blown up. So yeah, the pound. All right, so there's a lot going on with the pound. All right. First off, we got all the really, I would say, horrible data. I mean, we do have a green, but you can see that, again, we are definitely below 50 still. Not looking great. Services also worse than expected. There was an adjustment last time, too. They thought it was 52, but the reality was it was 50. So it was really, really close. And then, bam, they dropped under and they were at 49.2 this time. So showing contraction on all fronts. Again, not good. Again, that's why there would be weakness with the pound. But on top of that, the pound, the best way to say it, where is it? This one right here. Radical. The UK government has announced a radical economic plan to boost growth. Whenever you use the term radical, it's never necessarily a good thing. Talking about tax cuts, and again, it fell over 2% versus the dollar. These levels have not been seen since 1985. Again, the UK is now focused on growth, and they included a mix of tax cuts and investment incentives for businesses. Kind of funny that their main focus right now is like, hey, listen, we want to grow, so we do tax cuts and incentives. But yet in the United States, they're like, no, tax cuts don't, and incentives do nothing for business. Um, yeah, it's called politics. That's why it doesn't do anything, because it has been proven that it does. And there are entire other governments that are doing the same thing. So yeah. And it's funny. The first comment is, just intervene. It is definitely very, very hard to intervene for somebody as big as the pound. The UK, the yen is much easier to do it. But again, it's considered a weak, obviously a weak move for the currency. Because they're acknowledging there's a problem and their data looked horrible. They're already in a recession, and yeah. Down 224 and down 183. Those are the big ones for the day. And then Euro pound. That's really where you're seeing it. 87 is a big move, right? 87 now. Is Europe in a great position? Is the European Union doing awesome? 53 is good. Services, yeah. But again, manufacturing, big hit. Germany contracting. And again, France is the second biggest one, right? But Germany, their numbers going to trump everything else. Their data was pretty dismal. They were actually adjusted it lower last time. They were even worse than expected. Their services even worse than expected. Before you said they were 48. Over here they were just under. So yeah, the German data not good at all. So yeah, pretty ugly. And then CAD's data also extremely ugly. And again, this is the byproduct of raising interest rates to control inflation. It's a dangerous game, right? A very dangerous game. And again, we know that some of the CAD data too recently has been not so much Canadian data itself. It has actually been more of a byproduct of oil, right? Because again, oil is expensive. It's good for Canada because they export it pretty much all to the United States, and then vice versa. Again, we sell it back to them for exorbitant rates. But their data really, really bad. And they had to adjust down last time as well. So, I don't know. Interesting take. I thought CAD would have a little bit better data this time. I was kind of wondering if they're going to be a little bit overly negative, but the reality was they weren't negative enough. And again, we knew that the retail sales number overall would definitely be down because, again, that excludes, oil. Oil, gas, and food, kind of where all the, we knew that that data came down because, gas price is much, much cheaper. The cores, I'm kind of surprised that the core was that low. So yeah, I don't know. That's definitely some weakness in there, but you're seeing the dollar CAD up 74. And again, a lot of that, it's kind of like, is it dollar strength? Is it not dollar strength? It's hard to, kind of hard to look at that one. And now we have the U.S. data coming in just in a few minutes. And again, services expected to be under, and they're actually saying that there's going to be an adjustment. And then the big question is, does manufacturing hold above 50? right? Does manufacturing hold above 50 is the big question. And it's close. I mean, 51, it's close. I mean, it's right there. So, yeah, I think that's definitely definitely could kind of ruin some feel good Fridays out there if this data comes in and it's not great. And then we have the SNB chairman speaking, and again, you can see that the Swiss is getting some strength back again. And then Powell is speaking, and he's delivering opening remarks at a Fed Listens event in Washington, D.C. They're opening remarks, so it's not like he's releasing, any type of big economic data. But, I don't know. I don't think he's going to give too much monetary policy, but, he's going to acknowledge some things. And, I mean, it's 2 p.m. on a Friday. Can he manipulate the market in 2 hours? Sure. Is it the highest quality release to manipulate data? No, but if anything, because it's an event talking about how, the Fed listens to your concerns, we're doing this. And, if anything, I would say that it probably is on the side of being a bit more bullish for the markets. The fact that he's speaking Friday at 2 p.m. and the type of event that it is, I think there's probably some credence into, it could be a good thing today. Normally with everything going on and with their battling, I would say, no, not so much. But I'd say today, I actually feel like this could help us lead to somewhat of an end of the day rally, right? Somewhat of an end of the day rally. So, it's there. We'll see. Again, there's a lot of time between then and now. And I guess we'll take it how it goes. But the first big pin is going to be this 9:45 flash services. Obviously, there's no news tomorrow, right? And on Sunday, there is Italian elections. Italy doesn't have a ton of... Italy tends not to have a lot of move on the market. Now, it's a red event. I mean, it is big. I mean, it's, Parliament is a big thing, right? But overall, I would say that Italy's exposure to the euro and euro strength or weakness tends to be because of the pig situation, right? The Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, right? Being on the smaller side. I don't think they're at the stage yet where they're going to cause lots of problems, but you never know. Could be. Yeah, and actually, there's an article on it here if you want to read it. I didn't read it. Polls are showing a pretty strong lead for Brothers of Italy leader Milano. So it's unlikely they'll be surprised in the electoral outcome. Yeah. So again, they're not even saying, nothing crazy right now. So yeah. So we'll see. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Again, nothing tomorrow. Elections on Sunday, and then Monday. Monday we do have a bunch of speeches. Mester, ECB, BOJ. Nothing blockbuster wise, but enough there that there'll be some movement on Sunday night. Like I said, I don't think the elections move much, but I think these other ones do. Talking about what's next, where we're going, right? I think those all make a little bit of sense. All right, so I think it's important to start off with the VIX. So we've seen the VIX creep up, and then once the European market was kind of launching itself here, we've seen it kind of peak up top, and we're seeing it roll back again. Now, a lot of this I don't think is so much fear index. I think it's the fact that everything is quite deeply in the red. And I mentioned earlier, hey, there's that, Feel Good Fridays is a real thing. But the question is it going to be a real thing today? I don't know. The markets seem like they are quite stuck on this negative aspect of things. I would expect them to deteriorate after this news is out. But if the news is quite bad, if these are both under 50, it's kind of really hurting our chances today, right? Just because, again, more negative, we're shrinking, things are getting worse. We know we just raised 0.75 and all of our, production and services is slowing. Not the best recipe, right? Not the best recipe. So that's where we are at the VIX. And then the dollar, again, all the, here's the Europeans have basically done nothing but, here's the European Open right there. All right, there's the European Open. So it's been one direction up, and now we're starting to run into some issues. So again, with this rallying higher, I would say if we get some negative news, actually, we can just go here. If we get some negative news that's just coming in, we should see the dollar turn and roll back down again. 112 is kind of a crazy amount. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're this high. But overall, Again, the rate change was baked in. We knew it. We saw the collapse. And then at this time, now everything's kind of rolling back again. And with the UK kind of showing their weakness, again, a lot of this too is also probably the UK. When they announced that's huge weakness. You see the dollar yen go down, or the pound dollar go down. You see kind of large explosion here. So with it peaked really, really high. I mean, I don't want to say all-time high, but we're cranked way up there right now. You got to start looking at this one. It probably turn and kind of roll back to the downside. But again, a lot of it depends on the news we're about to see. I mean, if this number blows it out, actually, let's see what it is. Okay, so both of them are better than expected. So again, that is a very positive sign. Actually, this 49 is quite surprising. There was the adjustment, but that's a good number. And the 51.8, that's higher than it was last time. So again, good manufacturing numbers. So these are actually both strong for the U.S. dollar, which also means more rate raises are coming, which is not as good over here. So I don't know. We'll see if Super Pal can come in and save us later in the day. Wait, what? Who's messaging me? Okay. So funny. So I sent the boys lacrosse teams. Right, I have the two teams. I gave them the same homework for this weekend. So yes, we have lacrosse homework. I'm one of those coaches. They have homework, and I started it off attack/mid parents. I've had 3 defender, and I was like, let me know if you guys didn't get it. I've had 3 parents that are defenders' parents. I'm like, hey, he's not on the defender. He's not on the attack/midfield list. So it's like, come on, guys. You're supposed to remember the first thing and the last thing that you read. It was the first thing. Like I addressed it to, the attack parents. All right, let's go in here in the Aussie. So Aussie continued to deteriorate. So yesterday we talked about a Harry Potter trade. We're kind of still there right now. We don't have the separation yet. It literally dropped down and came right back up again. So we never got the basing below. But I would say right now, the way that this is looking, especially with those numbers, it looks like this short is probably going to work out today. I would say that it hasn't really triggered yet. I drop it down to a lower time frame. Kind of see how we roll in the next, next 15, 20 minutes. And this one could be a short entry. It's there. Right? It's there. We're at the level we're basing. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. We just need a little bit of a separation and continue to push the downside. So I think overall this is a pretty decent trade. You could continue to take this one lower. And again, nothing's really changed from yesterday. Make sure you take profit on any of your shorts before 65.25. Aussie yen. So yeah, we had a level. We talked about a level late last night. I was like, oh, we're so close. Yeah, it's going to trigger. It's going to trigger. It didn't trigger. Missed it by 6.4 pips. Yeah, and look at it, came all the way back down again. Wah, wah, wah. I was pretty excited when I looked at this one this morning. I was like, oh, there's price. I'm like, that must have been a good trade. But guess what? It didn't trigger. And again, a lot of times I look at the price and I'm like, oh, well, there should have been something over there. There should have been something here. Yeah. Yeah, it was close. It was very close. I thought this one was a good one. I saw where price was. I was like, yeah, nope. So it's basing off this lower section down here. Again, there are some buyers in there. You can see that it came down, grabbed it. It's a level. If anything, now we've hit it. We've hit it 3 times, and we are getting lower. Let's see. Are we back to the 7.8? Yeah, we're 7.8. So I can remove this, right? Let's see. Remove those 2. That's probably what we ran into. But there is a little bit of a racetrack lower. Let's see. Let's see if we have a short in Aussie yen as well. That one is... Oh, that one's already out. Why the heck was that on there? Oh, that was yesterday. That should have been off. I don't know why that one was there. It is. Okay, well, that's good. We're going to take this. We're going to shrink this down a little bit. We're going to shrink this a little bit, and we're going to throw a short right there. 4.2, 3 is right there. Dead on. All right, here's the test. A little bit deep. A little bit deep, but not horrible. Right? A little bit deep, but not horrible. We already know we have a racetrack here. We're talking about shorts below 93.20. right? We're actually taking it from up here. So there may be actually two things in here. So I'm going to continue this across. I don't need that. We know that we got this going here. Let's bring this across and look at it that way. So again, this one finishing right inside of a basing level. So not too bad. I'll bring this down, change that to black. Oops, not that. It's supposed to be green, and this is black. There we go. All right. So again, simple play. You're talking about 35 pips. I don't know if we're going to get to it today. We should, right? It's got about 30 pips more to go. Again, this is one of those ones. I wouldn't hold it over the weekend, but probably pretty decent. And again, if we don't trigger, maybe we hit it and bounce. That actually wouldn't be bad either. If we actually come down and bounce off this one more time and then use this for a Sunday night trade, I think that would be a pretty decent trade going into next week as well. So keep that on your radar. Let's bring this up here. This is still a good one up top. I just snagged it and grabbed it. There we go. All right. All right. All right, euro dollar. All right, so euro dollar. Talked about getting short from this level. And again, we hit it. We started basing across the top of it. It never gave us a pullback, so there wasn't much we could do on that one. Obviously, it did push down. I just deleted that off. It did go down from that level. Let's see. 97. I don't even know. Problem with this one is there's not really any great levels down. We just have to keep trying to trail on this one. Actually, we're going to put this right here. Right there, because we do have a little bit of a test. We're going to use that right now. We're going to drag this back down. We're going to steal it from that one. That's still level, but we're going to steal it. And again, we need like a little bit of something, right? We need a little bit of something. But right now, you can see we are having problems. We are basing. We are coming into that time frame. The news we just got is dollar strength based news. So I don't know if it's going to come back, but again, in trailing down the fib from top to bottom, you can see we do have a ton of basing, a drop, and again, there is a space below, and it came back up and tested, showing us that this is a valid supply zone. Well, with the pushing back down again, now, it wasn't here, but now that this has dropped down, magically now the 23 is actually slicing right through it, which again, if we could throw two different systems on top of each other for triggers at the same point, that is an ideal scenario. The more odds we can, throw in our favor, the better, right? We already know there's sellers there. We know that it's confirmed. We had strong push off of there on a one candle top. If we can have it sky in, that's also a great area. Again, having the 23.6 overlap on it, another great area. So, a lot of things, a lot of things in there. And that's actually funny. You know what? I'm gonna write that down. I had an epiphany, right? 5, 2. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. That's a good title. I like that one. All right, so I would say euro dollar. I'm still bearish. Again, it's kind of really hard to stack up against the dollar right now. It's just not one of those things where you're really like, yeah, let's go, weak dollar. Because we're not in a weak dollar stance right now. If anything, I would say that Powell probably has a shot. Powell probably has a shot to maybe give us a little bit of a reversal later on today. But again, Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock, 2:30. Is that the time when you really want to enter trades? Not really, right? Not really. So we'll see. Maybe we can get a little bit of a reversal next week, early next week. But again, this will maintain a valid level. We will hit it eventually again. And we know now that it's, not horrible, right? Not a horrible level. Okay. Even if it was just this, it's not horrible. Euro pound. So yeah, we were looking for a pushback down. Kind of went down. It didn't make it to the level. So it is now blowing these little tiny levels out of the water. And again, none of these were really strong ones. We've already kind of, we already ground off of this one. Not much we can do about it. Obviously, there's a trend change in here. I'll pull this one across and let's see what we got. Funny enough, the 50 is at that old level, right? So that may be actually a good target to the downside. Actually, we may be able to take that long. Let's see. Does this give us anything decent as well? No, not really. Well, the 50s. We'll leave that down there just because the 50. Oh, you know how to do with that. So euro pound, like I said, we know what's going on with the pound. Tax cuts, everything else. Extremely weak data for the pound. Again, it's all factored in right now. This is a parabolic move. So you typically are looking for some type of a top. Now, unfortunately, it is Friday, and again, this did not go any higher. So this is one of those ones, if you're able to get a kind of a color change at the top on this peak, again, it did not go higher. If it comes in, gives us this, when we finally get our red, if it doesn't break, a red, and again, we can do this on a 15, right? There's our red. If we get a green that doesn't really go higher, we really want to use bodies for it. But again, a red, a green that, doesn't really go higher, and a red, that's the start of a reversal. So what we may even want to do is just look at it this way and say, you know what? I'm not going to try to play the color change. I'm going to play it this way. 15 pips, right? If it triggers, great. Here's a racetrack. And you're right, it is, right? Something along those lines. And again, this is a small... And I say small, but it's still 50 pips in the other direction. Can the euro pound move 50 pips on a Friday? Probably not. So I'm kind of hoping that this one doesn't trigger and we go into next week. But it is a 23. So I like this with the fact that if you go the most recent low to high, people are going to look at the 23 and be like, yeah, look at that. It worked. But if it doesn't go above, did it really? And when it comes back down again, there'll be some artificial buyers coming back in again. I like it because they stepped in, but typically fib traders don't create the best supply and demand zones because it's purely based off just percentages. It's something that a computer could do if you really wanted it, right? So I like it. I'm good with that. When it breaks, we run back down. The 50 would be the next level, and there's a little hiccup at the 50, but the 61.8, you see how the green sneaks in right before the 61.8? I think there's a little bit more to be said about that one. So this could be one for next week. I'd feel better with it next week, in all honesty. I think today, the fact that their market only has, they only got, 2 hours to go? 2 hours to go before the market's closed. It should dry up and stop moving. If it kind of stops moving in here, I like that. I'm good with that. If we can open, maybe even gap below and then pull back up again, could be a nice Sunday night trade, right? When the market's open on Sunday night, if you're looking for something, could be a decent trade. And as I said, 15, 16 pips worth of risk with about 50 in the other direction. That's a nice way to roll into Monday morning if you can snag it, right? So that's pretty decent. I'd be good with that. Euro yen. So euro yen stabilized, right? Big push down. Again, you can see that it's been all this time up here, right? Yesterday morning, we're sitting here. We had just put in kind of this. We drew it to the bottom. You can see it came up. Now, this is one of those things that, you could hold it from 12. This is 8 hours. It didn't move. No movement for 8 hours. Kind of hard for a 23-6 trader to hold that one for 8 hours with no movement and then be on the hook. And then finally, late last night, it started to move. And around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it started to final pull through. So right now, I think it's important, obviously, to acknowledge that base exists, right? And it is kind of right near the 23.6. You also got to acknowledge that, hey, listen, there's a piece down here at the bottom. Buyers stepped in, stopped this one. And now, look, they've stepped in. So right now, we're kind of sitting in the middle. The range on it is about 100 pips. So it's small, but it really kind of is more like this is what it looks like. So, yeah, it's from this zone down 100.7. So it's actually quite a large area. I would say right now, the way that this one looks, I would see this one continuing to roll down with the indices as red as they are. Again, that tends to be that yen strength aspect of it. If it bases through here, again, we may not just have enough time today, but Powell can really, if anything, I think Powell screws this one up and it throws us back into some yen weakness. So if anything, I would say that it probably comes down, sits, spends some time here and pops. But again, do we want to trade the euro yen when the European market is already closed, going into, with 2 hours to go, 3 hours to go on a Friday afternoon? Not really. But I think for a Sunday night based trade, it could be a decent little bounce and a little bit of reversal back again. Again, this is a lot of yen strength, but it's not like they've magically solved all the yen's problems, right? The problems still exist. Typically, it's not just I don't want to say it's not just one and done, but typically, they're not solving all the problems with one piece of the intervention. It does start to creep back a little bit, right? That rubber banding effect, like we talked about. Actually, what I want to see here? Let me go back up to 30. I want to see Super Bollinger Bands. I wanted to see how far out we went. We did hold it. Yeah, look, you can see how much of a pinch there was, right? Huge pinch in that one. Okay. Yeah. Again, 100 pip range. It probably comes down, and I would say look for some type of a balance down here. Let's change this yellow. What are we at? 139? Close enough. Let's go to 139. Right there. So, yeah, 139-ish. Probably a decent pop level. Okay, and it is a psychological level. But again, careful with it going into the weekend. Pound yen, or pound dollar. So look at this. It did pull, and it just missed it. So, funny. It was already in a technical Harry Potter based trade, right? We already had a base. We'd already blown that base up. We had based in it again. We wanted it to go down and base and then pull back again, and it did. It pulled back. 3 pips. 3 pips. And off to the races. 3 pips. So we'll continue to drag fibs down with it. And again, there is kind of a level there. Again, we're not using this one anymore. If we get a reversal, there's something in there. And again, that's a decent pullback, that impulse correction, strong move off of it. It is news-based, but it's something we got to watch out for. But I don't think this one is done. I think this one continues to roll down. I'd like to see it pull back a little bit to give us a bottom. But down here at 110, it's really, really hard to talk about things that, literally the last time that price was down here was 1985, right? There are some people watching that weren't even born in 1985. My wife wasn't even born in 1985. My sister thankfully was, but my wife wasn't, right? Things were not. Things were different, but again, I am definitely a believer of they don't go away. But remember, the manipulation of the markets in 1985 was very, very much different than it is now. So if it was a level that was formed in the last 5 years, love it. A level that was formed in 1985, a little bit more leery about it. So for this one, I'm really waiting for a bottom to be put in. I don't have it. I would still maintain my bearish stance. Of the two, we know that the euro is much, much stronger than the pound. So, if you're looking to, maintain the dollar strength, this is the one to do it in. And it's the hard part is, the hard part is finding entries. And this is where you need to be very careful because, with particularly something like fibs, if I wanted to do this, I could say, all right, well, I could go from here to here. Oh, there's my 23. Well, I'm going to go from this peak down here. Like, do you see how I could keep doing this until I find it? Like, oh, here you go. If I drew it from here, as soon as we go to here, well, guess what? That didn't work either. Missed it again. But now it's a good, you see, you need to be careful with this because you could draw there's enough points in here, right? You could draw fibs 100 times here to get what you want, right? I can't make 100 draws saying, hey, listen, here was a top, there's your base, and there's a strong push off that level. I can't draw that 100 times. It only happened once, right? Like, I can't draw anything here. I can't draw anything here. Like, there's rules with it. But be careful with something like fibs where I could draw from here or here or here or here or here or here or here. I could draw from any one of these things and make an excuse why this counts to justify hindsight in 2020 why something works. So be cautious with what you're looking at, okay? Again, I think they're a great confirmation tool, but be very, very careful because someone's going to be like, oh, look at this. See, this is my secret system. Careful. Okay? I saw another person today that has no idea what she's doing, and she tried to tell me, she's like, no, you got to use this. I'm like, why are you drawing it from that point? And why not that point? And why not that point? Or why not that point? And there was no response back. So I was like, see, obviously, great way to cherry pick data and say that it works. Okay? Yeah. So, again, overall, pound dollar, bearish, no bottom in yet. This continues to deteriorate. When it does finally form a bottom, then we can start talking about long trades, but we're not there yet. Pound yen. So, pound yen trade. Another base. This one I did drag all the way down this morning. When I got in, I was like, man, that's another big mover. And I drug it down to see, how well levels were, kind of if any levels matched up. This obviously was not a level because at the time when it actually tagged the level, you can see that it is smack dead in the middle. Now, we did know it was at 160. We talked yesterday about 160 being an important level, very psychological, right? It smashed it, came back, went a little bit lower, and we had dots down there. And again, that was an old alert. We were looking for this to come through. And once we started to get this base, we're like, oh, can it come back, right? Well, it launched itself up. Actually, I guess there it is. Again, not a 23.6 level. Now, though, you can see that it is with a 23.6. So I like this level, and we had talked about this one being a long, but once we had the basing form yesterday afternoon, now all of a sudden that actually became a short. So this wasn't actually long. This was a profit target first, right? And again, if it hits it then and bounces through, then you could take a long off of it, but it was a profit target first. And you can see it hit it, and then finally broke. And right now, it's actually in kind of a continued short pattern, right? So, a couple things going on with this one. First, this is a level we need to watch out for. If it does come back in the future, and again, if this is the bottom, it's a 23, so we'll get extra help. Even if we don't get the extra help, basing, round number, huge push out of it. And again, magically that news came right out when they talked about the tax plan. Imagine that. Here's my shock face. But now you can see that we're actually, and again, this is something that you could be in. It's okay. Not my favorite position because, like I said, it's kind of, but we did get the pullback, and there's your 1 to 3 sitting, where this one could move to. It is starting to flirt with a 23.6, and again, I think Powell could suddenly screw this one up for everybody later on today. It's getting long in the day. I mean, this one would have been an entry right around 8:30 in the morning. Understand that this is purely going to be a proxy play because the UK market closes. So, yeah. I would say, again, watch the 160.11 for next week. Again, if you're short this one, don't hold this one over the weekend. A lot can happen with the pound yen, but you could be long, you could be short this one right now, right? But do know that the risk on this one was a 42 pip zone. So it's kind of like we just got out of a trade. We want to get back into one with 42 pips worth of risk on a Friday. It's can it move 130 pips from 8:30 to 5? Can it? Yes. Is it a high likelihood? It's kind of like, is it possible or probable, right? Is it possible? Yes, of course. Is it probable? Not really on a Friday, right? Not really on a Friday. Especially after such a big move down from their news already, right? Dollar CAD. So, dollar CAD, I was wondering if we had a top in there. Yesterday, European session, it kind of pushed down, and then once it kind of did its base, it stuck. It just started to stagnate, right? And it kind of pushed up, and then you can see 5 o'clock it chopped down, it went right back up again. 6:30 it pushed down again, just in time for that 8:30 in the morning kind of news, right? The 8:30 news piece right here for CAD. And what happened? Horrible CAD news. Boom, pop right up. And now we're kind of just stuck, and the U.S. data really didn't do much because the CAD news was just so bad, right? And again, this is bad, this is good. So it did exactly what it was supposed to do, 8:30, 9:45. It's probably at a peak at this point. Again, are we going to have time to trade this one today? Maybe, maybe not. But I think if we can get any type of a pullback, if we get any type of a pushback down again, and a little bit of space, and when I say space, some of you guys don't know, space is not a technical term. It's kind of like, hey, can I draw a triangle in there? That signifies that I have some space. Can we go around the triangle, right? I think we're probably due for something along those lines. Whether it kicks in today, maybe. I do think that, again, because it's a speech, like an opening remark, talking about how inflation's been great, we're watching this, our data's been, it's going to be very positive, right? I just feel that Powell, because it's a speech and not an actually true economic event, and it's like, hey, listen, we're listening to you and your needs. I feel like that's going to be good for the stock market. Again, a little bit weaker dollarish, dovish dollarish. That brings us right back down again. So, again, the setup's not exactly here, but I would say, look for this to turn and roll to the downside. Overall, longer term, obviously the dollar CAD should be going higher, but we're kind of at extreme ranges at this point. So I do think it comes and turns and rolls right back down. Dollar Swiss. Yeah, so dollar Swiss hadn't hit the profit target yet. If I continue this cross, you guys can see that it got 2/3 of the way through, and the 23 Sixers and the buyers here, they got into it a little bit. It made it down to 1.275. So it was pretty close. And again, we're kind of that same level right now. This is what happens. I mean, we did have sellers in here from the original trigger. Buyers. We knew we had buyers at the 23.6. So we talked about it being a little bit deep, but we thought we could make it down that far. And what I mean by the buyers is right here, right? This candle. Here is where the buyers decided to come in, right? The price didn't drop any lower, so buyers stepped in. Well, if I can continue this cross, you can see, and here, let's make sure it's exactly the same. There you go, 573, 573. I did it right. What did they run into? The same buyers that existed here. And by the way, make sure it's the same. I missed that one by a little bit. There's the same. Guess what we just ran into? So again, these buyers, it's hit and ground its way out again, hit again, and started to pull back again. So again, we continue to grind down. We'll get the full profit if you haven't already. But again, you had to know those guys were there. Now, could you have used that as your profit target? Absolutely, because you knew buyers were there, right? And again, taking that short, yeah, you could have absolutely taken this off. I mean, is a 275 a horrible trade? No, right? Especially in something like the dollar Swiss. But the way that it's setting up too, we're looking for kind of a decent basing. It looks like we're getting that, and then we have the ability to kind of roll this one back down to the 96.44. So, not a horrible trade. Slow. Overall, it was. And the funny thing is, this was a 75 pip risk zone. We're talking, a 25 pip risk zone. This was 75 pips. Had you taken this off at 275 with the dollar Swiss, that was 67 pips. That's a great trade with the dollar Swiss. Can't be upset about that. So, if you took it off on a little bit conservative, again, not a bad, 65 pips. Yeah, that's nice with dollar Swiss. Can't be upset. But again, I think next week we continue to roll back to the downside. Dollar yen. So, very interesting spot right now with the dollar yen. Okay. Dollar yen has pushed all the way back. We didn't quite make it here. We were hoping for a little bit of a 23 base and push down, and it did. And it just kind of flatlined itself. It kind of rolled off these guys and then kind of started back up again. Now, we are seeing yen strength in other areas except versus the dollar. So, again, we are seeing that yen strength, but the dollar yen is a very difficult play. If Powell kind of tanks the dollar this afternoon, it is in a place where we'd look for a rollover. Now, again, all these kind of fib traders out there, it's an easy zone. It's definitely a supply zone. This huge impulse down, came up in a one candle base, pulled back, tried to rally, and then boom, slammed down again. We're there. We're at the 50. Is this a tiny level? No, it's 44 pips. We talked about this yesterday being a little difficult. If anything right now, I would say, I'd almost want to shrink it and say, okay, listen, let's just go right off the 50 right there. That makes it a little bit more palatable. Yeah, even now it's still 28. Still 28. So this is one of those ones you'd like to take more of an options round, but unfortunately, obviously Nadex does their things at 3 o'clock. It's not the most beneficial thing in the world. I don't know. Kind of a hard one, right? I don't know. On a purely technical basis, if this was a Monday or Tuesday, absolutely. Swing trade, long-term position, take this thing. When I say long-term, I mean week maybe. Go for one of those week-long positions. We're at 43.10, right? Shooting back for 41, right? So it's there. Question is, can Powell tank us later on in the afternoon? That's the big question. Now, it is almost 10:30. So again, the Europeans have kind of set it up. We have a 10:30 reversal. We have a 50% fib retracement. We have an area of supply. We do have a bit of a confirmation, although you want it to kind of go a little bit farther away. So a lot of things in this one. Okay. Take it for what it's worth. Cryptos, obviously the data was great today. So you're seeing cryptos go back down again. They're not out of the range. They all look the same. Ethereum actually did burst out the top, but then boom, got sucked right back into it. And Doji is the only one that's in the green right now. And again, it's consolidation. It looks like it's consolidation went to there, and then boom, we pop back out again. So yeah, it's hovering above 6. It's struggling. It's at 60 right now, right? 6 cents in double zero. almost 02. So it's close. It's really, really close to dropping below. And it probably does. You can see bonds continuing to deteriorate again. Raising interest rates, they will do this. That's why you see the tank just fall off the cliff. Again, traditional options, great way to get this whenever it comes back up to an area of sellers. Now, commodities. Look at oil, right? Oil getting blown up, right? Oil getting blown up. I mean, it's 78. I'm curious now. And again, part of this too, just so you guys understand, you may say, well, what the heck is going on with the oil? We're rolling out of summer gas into winter gas again because the temperatures are down there and stuff are starting to come lower. We're starting to roll back out again. So this is a seasonal adjustment back down again. But this is some crazy data, right? Was there anything? Let's see. I don't think there's anything monstrous with it. Again, U.S. private sector output falls at softer pace. Yeah, I got it. UK, no, not really. I was trying to see. Started to be cracking. Government spending. No, it's this. It's the horrible data over here, which is added to this. But how cool is this? Like my gas was 318, 317, like 320, depending on the station you go to. That was up at 85. Now we're at 78. Like, could we break $3 here? Oh, I'm excited for that one now. And again, look at these across. You can see that one got beat, and this one again violated level. If you took this for long, again, you were looking for this to kind of push, and you may have gotten stopped out on this if you went from 81.62. But again, if you got stopped out, look for it to continue in the other direction. It did. It based. It pulled back and missed it by a little bit. But again, depending on how you adjusted that one, you may have. You may have caught that one. That one is out. Let's clean some of these. Let's bring this down. Yeah, look at that level. It is now 23. So we roll back up again. That could actually be a decent short. Let's put that there. Put that on. Let's see if that coincides with anything else. Nope. Nope. But there's a lot of stuff back there. It's a 23 and a 50 overlap. Just not in a zone. Okay, here's the question. Yeah, that's what we're flirting with right now. Let's see. Yeah, so the basin coming off that. Just hoping to see if we could shrink that a little bit, but not really. All right. So yeah. So it looks like we're at a level on a 2-hour time frame that there is a potential for this to turn and pop to the top side. So again, question is, remember, this market closes before the end of the day. Big push down. Obviously, there was a violated zone with the pullback on this one. As much as I have to say it, I would say that oil's probably in an area. This is a big kind of call of what happens here, right? This really goes back to that, do you want to hold over the weekend type thing, you know? I'll tell you right now, being down 5.7% is a huge drop. Right, that's a big drop. I'd say, I mean, with this big of a drop, 5.68% drop, that's kind of more call for kind of a reversal coming in Sunday, Monday. So I would say that there's probably a buying opportunity in oil. Again, this is an older level. Don't love it. It's from a 2-hour, so we know that there's definitely buyers stepping in. So there's something there. Again, on a Friday, I don't know how I feel about that one, though. Right? I don't know that I want to hold over the weekend, but I think this has the potential for giving us a bounce. Again, I'd like to see if this holds. If this holds Sunday night, this could be a buying opportunity. right? Just because, again, this is, 564 down $4. This is out of the ordinary, right? It's beyond what the norm is. So typically we have a reversal back again, that reversion of the mean. We should see it come back in. Now, natural gas. All right, so natural gas is also continuing to drop. Now, this has, I would say natural gas right now probably also has to do with what's going on in Europe. Those numbers were horrible. Again, kind of recession-ish-y. Now, there is a basing right there. And again, that's a decent base. This drop, a little bit of a hiccup, right? Impulse, correction, impulse. And then, is it tested is the question. Let's not cheat on this one. There. Close. Close. So it looks like there is a sell at 728. Let's see. What are we dealing with down-wise here? It's funny enough. So, look at this one. So we talked about a profit target. See this 675? There's your 675 target. Went right off the target. Yeah, so it smashed right into the target. So let's see. The problem is this is where we got it really, really bursty. That one is out. Where's the drop? It's a little bit in here. Fortunately, there is a little hiccup right in there. I don't love it, but it's there. Look at that, smash right through that 7. So I'd say right now, I mean, we do have two areas here that we have had buyers in the past. We are just bouncing off one of them, so it looks like there is some credence to there being a level here at the 673-ish, 674, which is just below where the line was. That 675 target did get hit, though, and it's funny that was going to be the bounce point for the morning. So kind of the same thing. 168 is not out of the ordinary, but I would expect it to kind of come back up a little bit. Remember this market also closes early on Friday, so again, do what you want with it. But I would say, if we can rally back up to 728, there is definitely a sell in there. Again, with that level of punch, and it's already kind of been tested, actually front run a little bit. And the 23, there should be some sellers coming in. So if this is the bottom, we rally up. I think we look for this one to kind of pull one of these things. Okay, gold. So gold, we talked about down. And again, we had the highs. We dropped. We talked about this level not being great because we had 1 touches, 2 touches, 3 touches, 4 touches. We did not expect it to hold, and boom, it didn't. It broke through, it based, it pulled back, and is continuing to go lower. So, let's see. Let's see. Where do we have a stop? We're dealing with this right now, all this, but it looks like on a 4-hour. Again, I'm going to shrink it. Yeah. Oh, God, look how ugly that is. Look at all the wicks in this one. Oh. The lower time frame even made it worse. I mean, it'll probably go in. I mean, that's what the zone looks like. Oh, my God, that's horrible. I hate everything about that. But unfortunately, that's the area of basing. But, God, I hate everything about that. Yeah, they spent so much time there. What is it, 618? Is that where we're... All right, so it looks like that's where we're shooting for down target-wise. Yeah, 618. Right. So, again, I mentioned, raising interest rates, things are going to slide. We got a little bit of a pop here, right? But overall, now that it's officially in, it makes more sense to, keep it in cash, so they pull it out of gold. So, again, crushing inflation. The data today also did not help it. Question. The $7 even pivot point is too minor and or no for fib. Which one? For which? For here? This one? Or are you saying this thing here? What did you say for $7? $7? $7, like $7 flat, or do you mean like this little kick here? I'll wait for you to respond. I know there's a little bit left. Yeah, $7 flat. No, $7 flat's not. I mean, it's at 7 right now, but 7's not a pivot. There's nothing. There's nothing at 7. See how this drove all the way through? There's nothing at 7, so there's no pivot at 7 flat. Right? If there was a zone there, then you could say, hey, this is a round number. Right? Remember, you're always looking for buyers or sellers first, and then you look at the secondary kind of enhancers. A secondary enhancer is it a round number? Is it a whole number? Is it a quarter number? And again, those are quarter theories. Some people burn them just through quarters theories. And again, the 7 would have been the trigger. And on this case, the low was, yeah. So technically, on a quarters theory based trade, you should be short gold or short natural gas right now, because it came from above, it went through the solid number, and then when it broke through the quarter mark at the lower end, that should signify that it's moving to the 25% on the other side. But 7 by itself is nothing. 7 is not an earth shattering number. Like a 10, sure, like parity in a currency, yeah, those are big numbers. They'll act as magnets, but 7 itself is nothing. I mean, you can see, it didn't even slow down. There's your horizontal. There's 7 flat. It didn't even slow down. It didn't even recognize it like it didn't exist. Oh, I see on gas. Oh yeah, the 712. I read the chart wrong. The 712 here. Yeah. So the 712 one is actually a retest. It's okay, right? You can see that there's a drop and a base in here, and there's your base, right? Right. And if you look at just that level, right? If you're looking at just the basing level right here, right? There's your drop, there's your base, there's a push. And again, decent push in. All this is a retest of that level. Now, you can say, how great is that level? Should I sell it off there again? I mean, there are buyers left in here, right? There are buyers left in there, but this is done on a 15-minute chart. So the smaller that you go down on a time frame, the weaker the zone technically is. I can see it on a 30, right? But I mean, this is a legitimate pattern. A drop, a green that's there with it's nothing but body. Again, if it's just wick drop, that's a legitimate zone, right? But the question is how many times it's hit it and pulled back, hit it and pulled back, hit it and pulled back. It hasn't breached very far, and you could technically breach it up to there and say, okay, there's where the zone is now. Sure, but you have some bigger psychological numbers up top. I mean, this one actually, I guess I could shrink a little bit to there, make that a little bit better. Again, bigger push in, one base, and then monstrous move out. That is stronger than something like this. As well as, I mean, you could technically make the case that, hey, listen, that hasn't been tested yet. You're right, it hasn't. But you're trying to stack the odds. And again, when you have 3 levels, you typically want to take the farthest one. So it was a level. And again, short-term scalping trades, if you're looking for small things, yeah, you could have absolutely taken this and said, oh, there's a little gap there too. But look, there's a base, right? There was a base somewhere in there. And that's exactly, use the red candle. The red was the high. There you go. There's your trend continuation, but yeah, the 7 flat is nothing. Yeah, it's a level. You could use it. But again, we're talking about odds. This one's been dinged. Yeah, there's people here, but this one really hasn't been dinged. And you're going to have 23 sixes. And actually, it's probably, I'm on the 15 minute. That's why. I was like, wait, why does it look weird now? Yeah, it's that whole level. And again, this is a more generic level. Okay. Silver. Our target got hit. We talked about 1907. Interestingly enough, we talked about this 50% level, and that's also what we just bounced off of. And again, supply jet, perfect example. Gap supply zone first. Any gap is automatically going to be, actually, sorry, not supply, demand. Automatically going to be a demand zone. It was also confirmed. It was not a 50% retracement level then, but once price went all the way up, now it has a supply zone, an impulse up, correction. It was a gap, also signifies a area of buyers. It came down and tested that level, which again shows us that those are buyers there. And it's already hit at one time. And once it peaked, it was also at 50%. And that's what we ran off of now. But I will say, it was already kind of in a down pattern. We were looking for a target lower. We're not necessarily, with that target being there, we're looking for an opposing zone. It's all the way down here. It's got to hit the thing first. And it did. It just hit it. So this would have been where you wanted to take your profit from. So hopefully that makes sense. Because like I said, you were pulled in from the shorts up top. So again, silver has now kind of reset itself. It is back lower in the curve. We did run into buyers. I'd actually I wanted to base and smash in this area again. I like for this to go a bit lower. I'm not willing to take it short yet, but I'd like for it to come down in base and give me a zone where I can draw. I want to be able to draw some level of basing in here. If I could draw the level of basing, I'd be looking to turn and take this lower. All right. So yeah. Again, still bearish silver, and again, you can see it's doing exactly what it should. It's double what gold is. So indices, again, VIX is quite high. People aren't liking that data. That data was strong U.S. Let's see if opening print would have provided any opportunity today. You can see yesterday it got pretty much all the way up, and then obviously right at 3:30. It turned and rolled back. It was slow. It was like, and yesterday we mentioned it. Really, the opening prints yesterday really weren't the best because we had news come in right beforehand. So they were all in kind of news releases. As far as today goes, 9 o'clock pushed it higher in preparation for the open, but there wasn't a zone there. So ES, not an entry for today. NQ, you can see, look, it got so close. It just literally chopped back and forth. Everyone's like, wait. And it just kept going. But again, not on that side. There was the original trade. Right? There was the original trade. Let's see. Let's drag this down. Yeah. I mean, it drove it up, but there was no zone. Well, actually, I'll put it on 15. Sorry. Drove it up. No zone. Right. And again, it pulled it up 915 basing. It signified lower, but yeah, nothing. YM was close. YM got close. But again, same thing. 9 o'clock, drove it forward. It was one candle basing and then turned and flipped it. But again, nothing. Russell drove it up. And actually, Russell did have a zone. Whoops. There to there. Russell did trigger. So 915. Yep. Russell triggered. And Russell is probably out too. 1 to 3 is right there. So yeah. So 1 out of 4 actually trade. It's so funny. When the first 3 don't, Russell always does. When the first 3 do trigger, Russell a lot of times doesn't. Russell was the only trigger today. So 1 for 4 as far as entries go. On entries, you were 1 for 1, right? 100% on full profit targets. But yeah, unfortunately, it just moved too much. There was no zones formed. And again, some of that also has to do with a 9:45 release. It's kind of hard to do an opening print base trade when in 15 minutes you have something as big as services, showing whether the economy is contracting or not. But overall, you did have one entry come in right at 9:15, and it did go to its full profit target. So if anything, I would say look for reversals at 10:30 today. It's already starting to bounce back again. I think that's actually okay. And I think Powell may provide a little bit of a boost, maybe kind of like an end of the day rally. I don't think everything turns green today. I think it's going to end red, but I think we could have some buying opportunity later for kind of more of a short-term thing. So not too bad. Again, it's Friday, kind of a weird day with services overseas being so horrible and the U.S. numbers being great. Kind of leads to more dollar strength coming in, and we know that causes a lot of problem overseas, and super strong dollar kind of messes up every other country in the world, but it's just the way that it is. So, all right, with that said, let's go ahead and do the giveaway for today. So we got 7 in and 11. Neuro won yesterday. So Neuro's going for 100. Everybody else is going for their 25. And Jeff, if you're on here, you should get involved with this one. All you have to do is type exclamation ticket. Everybody gets a free ticket by watching the channel. You do accumulate pip chips, and you can use them to buy different things. The course that, fingers crossed, maybe I can get it out this weekend. I don't know. Like I said, I had to go back and make some changes to it. I try to preview everything, and I was like, you know what? I don't like that. Let me do this part over again. I'm not a perfectionist, but at the same time, I kind of am. So, yeah. But you're going to actually be able to use your pip chips for a discount for new classes if you wanted to buy it. I figured going forward, that makes the most sense. But all you got to do is put in exclamation point ticket, and you're able to buy your ticket for the day. And again, it's free. You can buy more. It's $10 or 10 pip chips for every additional one. So like Ernest, he bought 2. So he got 1 for free, and he used 10 pip chips. Okay. You'll start next week. All right. Sounds good. All right. Closing it down. Winner of today's drawing is... Debbie steals it with 1. Go, Debbie. Look at that. Debbie's closing it out. That's what happens when you're a day drinker. I'm just kidding, Debbie. But I know you like your wine, so I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding at all at the same time. It's okay. Debbie, don't worry. I was all excited I'm a big Bloody Mary person. I was like, I got my Bloody Mary mix. I'm good. I don't have anything this Saturday. My mom calls me yesterday and she's like, hey, I need you to install drapes at the rental house. I'm like, oh. It's like, fine, be there at 9:30. So, but when I get back, I'm drinking Bloody Marys tomorrow. So, bam, doing it that way. All right, with that said, end of the week. Get out of your trades early. Be done by noon if you guys can. If not, I will catch you guys Monday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, same places. With that said, have a great, safe weekend. Everyone be careful out there. Go have fun. For us, it's kind of like the first weekend of fall, so I'm having a blast. Leaves are changing, though, so maybe I'll do some yard work. With that said, I'm out. Catch you guys later.